This program on NOTSTR8 TV is brought to you by Video Blocks. 7 days of free downloads, over 50,000 stock clips of video, backgrounds, music, and more. To get started, visit NOTSTR8.tv/video blocks. Sign up and get your 7 days of free downloads. NOTSTR8.tv/video blocks.
I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey.
Once upon a time, there was a little girl.
The accident was over a year ago. A second woman has been elected president. A 12th planet has been named in the solar system. The last wild polar bear has died. I slept through it all. Was here for my waking. He called it a beginning. He said it was good. I think he may have thought that anything I did was good.
Welcome to Transition Radio, live from Hollywood, Florida, with your host and hostess, Mark Angelo and Jessica Lynn Cummings. Show for trans folks, by trans folks, here to let your voice be heard.
Hey guys, welcome to our show. This is show number 6. We're so very excited that you guys are able to join us. Today we've got a special treat for you, Ian Harvie, and oh boy, just wait. But first I want to ask you, do you notice anything different about Jess? Look closely, anything different? Okay, she didn't get a boob job. You might have to like sit there and move over because there you go, kind of like Pamela Anderson.
Yeah, okay, not even close.
But she didn't get a boob job, promise. She's wearing the Gold Seal Classic breast form, from the 1.5 to be exact, which is made for you ladies with smaller natural breasts, courtesy of our sponsor, the Breast Form Store. They really enhance your look and are great to boost your confidence and sexuality.
You too can have this great look by visiting www.thebreastformstore.com www.thebreastformstore.com and get a pair of your own. Ladies, we will be giving away a pair of compliments of our sponsor starting next week. So listen to details on our radio show to enter the contest we will be having. Also, basically, this is how they're shipped in a big cardboard box. Each breast form comes in its own individual box.
Discreet packaging.
Discreet packaging says nothing about the Breast Form Store. And this is kind of what the differences are, okay? The concaveness in the back. So it goes from Classic 1, Classic 1.5, 1.5 to 2. So this way it helps give you that nice, here if I can get over here, and gives you that nice cleavage look with no problem. And they work well. And they're comfortable. So...
And they cost a lot less than surgery.
They cost a few $1,000s less.
Anyway, let's go on about our guests.
Yes.
No matter who you are, who you love, or where you come from, Ian Harvie will make you feel as though you're family. Everyone will be able to relate to his observations about life, relationships, and the routine challenges we all face from day to day. Ian's not just a queer comedian. He's the world's first FTM transgender comic, which, when put into context, will make his anecdotes about his own phobia of public restrooms all the more side-splitting.
It's this facile sense of ease and not just his gender-bending presence that makes Ian's humor groundbreaking and has led him to make history on more than one occasion. It's the very quality that attracted the notorious Margaret Cho to not just publicly rave about Ian's work, but to feature him in her smash show, The Sensuous Woman, and tour with him nationally and internationally constantly. It's what landed him spots on One Night Stand Up and Out Loud Comedy Festival on the Logo Network, and Comics Unleashed on ABC, and his own one-hour comedy special filmed for television in early 2012.
Ian describes it this way: I was born female. There's no question that I understand this. I keep my F for female on my driver's license and birth certificate because for me, that is a biological fact. Plus, if I ever have to go to jail, God forbid, I'm going to the girl jail. I believe that female is a biological sex and legal terms, while my gender is something else entirely. That is something I get to create myself and modify as I see fit. I do not consider myself or identify as male. However, I do identify as a man, of sorts. These two words are not necessarily connected for me.
Audiences of every possible cross-section of society are quick to relate to and laugh along with Ian's eccentric views on love, families, adolescence, substance abuse, and gender identification, as well as his acute dissection on the circus act that is the stunt double for today's popular culture. You can find Ian touring his new one-man stand-up comedy show titled Superhero around the country, which was also filmed as a one-hour special for television.
And today, we are very lucky to have him on our show. Please give a warm, fuzzy welcome to the most amazing funny man, Mr. Ian Harvie.
Hi, you two. How are you?
We're doing great, great. And yourself?
I'm great. That bio was way too long. I got to shorten that up.
I know. You know, the intro, for those that don't know you, and we're here. I know you're really, really funny, and I like the way that you use your comedy to educate people, and I believe that's a tremendous thing when you can actually make people laugh, break down their barriers, and you get your point across. So
yeah, I think that it works way better than, you know, standing, you know, on a pulpit wagging your finger at somebody. It's one of those things that humor and comedy can be so disarming, and it's also can be a really intimate experience too with an audience. If you, you know, share yourself in a very real, or your story in a very real and honest way that also is funny, I think that it makes it hard for people to not like you. So yeah, I think, you know, when I was younger, I marched around with Queer Nation and ACT UP and for different causes, and the contrast in how I impact people with humor is really, it's so enormous. I think that I find value in you know, civil disobedience, and I find value in marching in the streets with signs, absolutely, without a doubt. But the effect that I have personally had on groups of people with my humor is just so different, and I'm really grateful for it. And actually, I don't know if I would do it if there wasn't that element to it. I think that the comedy and hopefully changing people's minds about trans people really go hand in hand for me.
Definitely, it's like kill them with laughter, kill them with kindness, instead of like trying to like bang people across the head with "you got to respect us," you got to, you know.
Well, right. I think this is the difference is this, is that I am just sharing my story. It's inarguable. My story is my story, and I'm not telling anybody what to think. I'm just telling them my story, and that is that they can't argue with that. They can argue with, you know, that if we want to give them, they shouldn't argue with science facts, but people do, and it's so stupid. But you know, when they think that there's an opinion out there that they're gonna that is not necessarily attached to a human being, then they tend to argue with it. But if you just get up there, you or me or whoever who is sort of publicly out and tells their story, it becomes inarguable, I think. I think that it's like, you can't, this is my story. My story is my personal fact, you know, so you can't argue with it. But it's presented in a way that's non-combative, you know. It's presented in a way that is that's a narrative and a story. So anyway, I think that if it were told if I get into real just political stuff and talk about how I'm super left wing, you know, bleeding heart liberal, then we'll probably get into some arguments. But if I just share my story of growing up and how I came to feel this way and how I understand myself today, you can't argue with that. So anyway.
Exactly. That's our story. We want to show the viewers a clip of an older, I guess, performance of the Margaret Show's Beautiful Tour. So,
sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Ian Harvie.
Even since I was little, I always wanted a flat chest, always. And 8 weeks ago, I went to San Francisco, and I had chest surgery, and I had the girls removed. Thank God. Thank you. No, you can applaud. Oh, yeah, you can. I was so excited. I'd wanted this since I was a little kid, and right before the surgery, I had some big girls. Oh, seriously. I had like some triple Ds, and I'm not kidding. And I went to San Francisco, but before I did, I had about, like the last week with the girls, I knew I had limited time left with them, and there were some things that I wanted to do. And one of the things I always wanted to know was I always wanted to know what they weighed. And there's no scale for that sort of thing, really. There's not. So I went to the Whole Foods, and I went to the produce section, and it's Whole Foods. You can do that there. And I slung one of the girls up in there, and it turns out I had been carrying around an Olsen twin on my chest that whole time. Yeah, not the fat one, though. Not the fat one. Because the girls were so big, there was they had to, they took the skin. I'm not going to get too graphic, but they took my chest and they pulled it kind of this way and kind of this way. And they put my new nipples on, made from my other nipples. And but my old nipple sensation now is over here. And over here. And I'm not into nipple play, but if I were, I'd be like, oh, get it, yeah, oh, get it, yeah, oh, get it, wait, oh, get it, oh, yeah, get it. So I'm trying to look more masculine. As part of my process, I'm trying to look more masculine. And one of the things that I did recently, I've been wearing earrings, and I took them out recently, and I put them back in recently, and I don't have them in tonight, but I realized that I'm not only passing as a dude all the time, but I'm passing as a gay dude, yeah. All the time now, yeah. I look like the lost fucking member of Wham up here right now. I know. I'm so faggy. I know. And it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. But it comes up once in a while, I'll go to the gay bars and hang out. And we went out last night, and we were downtown, and this guy came up to me, and I don't know what to do when this happens. And this guy came up to me, and I didn't realize what was happening, that he was hitting on me, and I was like, oh, shit. And so basically I just said, look, I'm transgendered, I'm female-bodied, and I like girls. And he was like, oh, that's cool, eh? And he walks off, and he's like, wait a second. He had this revelation. He was like, you mean you have 2 holes to choose from? I was like, that's rude. He didn't even acknowledge my 3rd hole. What a bitch.
Very, very funny.
Oh my God. That was great.
I look so different back then. That's what I think when I look at that video. I'm like, wow, I was so boyish.
Yeah.
I think I'm fully cooked now.
What was that?
I think I'm fully cooked now. My buttons popped. I think I'm fully cooked.
Yeah. You were still stewing back then.
It was, yeah. It was simmering.
You are hysterical.
Yeah,
Let me ask you a question, Ian.
Yeah.
Were you always a comedian, or is it something that came upon after you transitioned?
Well, I mean, I definitely was one of those kids who really thrived on making people laugh. So I would say I was always a comedian, but I didn't start my professional comedy career. Well, I started my comedy career, it'll be 11 years ago this coming January. And I started my professional comedy career, where I started getting paid for it shortly thereafter. But I didn't start making a living doing it until about 6 years ago. I moved to Los Angeles, and I met Margaret about 6 months after I moved here, and I started working with her almost immediately after I met her. So I've always, I feel like I've always been that person inside that just, you know, really gets off on making people laugh. And then, you know, it wasn't until, you know, almost 11 years ago that I started doing stand-up. But I transitioned on stage. So my transness has nothing to do with my becoming a comedian, but I came out on stage about 2 years into my stand-up career, and you know, the very first time I ever talked about it on stage, I was scared as shit. I was so nervous. And the crowd could tell, and it went okay. It didn't go great, but it went okay. I didn't get eaten alive, which I thought that was going to happen. And then it just got better and better, and I thought, you know what? Like, there's something to being this honest on stage. And so I just kept, and at the time I came out as trans, I had not sort of taken any hormones. I had not, I had legally changed my name, but that was it in my outward sort of presentation to the world about who I felt that I was. So it was one of those, I actually did transition on stage. Like that first video clip that you showed was 8 weeks after my chest surgery, and you can tell the difference between like my boyish looks there to my sort of mannish looks. And I think in the beginning when I came out on stage, people didn't really believe me in a way, that they were like, okay, no, you're okay, whatever, you're just a lesbian. I think, or you're just a dyke, like you not. And I don't mean just. I mean in people's minds, I don't think that they connected it. But you know, over time, like I, you know, progressively got more and more outwardly sort of masculine, and started testosterone, and started and had chest surgery, and so I think then it started to make sense to people. And now what's happened, it went from people not believing me, I think, on stage, like, okay, whatever, like, we believe that you feel this way, sure you do. And now people don't believe that I was ever, you know, born female. It's like this total opposite, went from here to here.
Couldn't win either way.
You know, like, sure, you feel that way. And then now people are like, no way, you never were born, no way that you were born female. Like, so it's like, I mean, it's funny, just the transition from one to the other.
How have your friends and family handled your transition? And since you're a comedian, I can imagine, you know, you can share with us how they reacted and how you actually told them.
I told my parents through writing them a letter. I wrote them a really, really, really long letter about how I felt when I was growing up. I wrote them a letter. In the letter, I described how I felt as a kid, and how reminded my mother about how we feuded about clothes, and talked about how when I had, you know, my first boyfriend from down the street was this guy named Roger. And when he my first kiss, I thought I was going to throw up. Like, I thought, not because he was a bad kisser at the time. No 8th grader knows how to kiss. Just I want to give Roger some credit that you know, he just didn't know what to do with his tongue. He didn't know to not shove it in my esophagus. But it's one of those, like, I just reminded them of all these things, of how I felt as I was growing up, and how I always felt like a boy. And as I got older, I didn't know what to do with it. So I was very butch on the outside, and on the inside, and I still am. I still identify with butch, but it's one of those things that, like, I knew that I was in therapy for a long time about not as much about my gender, because I knew who I was, but I was in therapy about how will I ever tell my mother? How will I ever share this with my partners? How will I ever, you know, get this across? And ultimately what I figured out for me was I had to know that I was going to be okay afterwards. It almost didn't matter what I said to whoever I said it to and whoever I came out to. I just had to know that I was going to be physically and emotionally and psychologically okay after I came out to whoever I was going to come out to. And once I finally had that in me, I could come out to anybody. But for my parents, I also didn't want to put them on the spot. My parents were okay with me being queer. I also have I have 2 brothers and a sister, and one of my brothers is gay. And I thought, okay, this is going to be the one thing that will give my mother a stroke. I really thought that that this was going to be the thing, but my parents have had to deal with a lot of information, and they've always been really loving. So there was a part of me that knew that my even though I was concerned that my mom would, be okay. But so I wrote this very long letter and I gave it to them on Easter, and it just felt like the right thing to do on Easter. Jesus has risen and I'm trans. So I gave them the letter, and I didn't want them to read it right then, so I left it right before I left it, on their nightstand. And and so I didn't have contact with them for almost 2 weeks, and I saw my mother online, on AOL chat or something, and my mom wrote me a message, said, "Are you talking to us?" And I was like, "Yeah, are you talking to me?" I think she thought I was going to go away, that part of my transition was going to be that I was going to go away and never come back. And we talked about it, and she said, we read it, we cried, and we thought, you sounded sure. You sounded like you knew what you were talking about. And so if you sounded unsure, we might ask you some questions or maybe even try to talk you out of it. But ultimately, we believe you. You sounded very certain of who you are. And there's been times, throughout my history where, in my mom in particular, my dad's a very quiet guy, but anything that my mom has ever said to me that might be construed as maybe mean or transphobic or butchphobic or queerphobic or anything like that. The only time my mother has ever said anything that might be construed as something mean, it has always been because she's been afraid what people would do to me. And that's something that, as a younger person, I'm glad that I came out to them when I did, in the ways that I did, because I think that it actually, as an older person, I came out to my parents when I was, my early 30s. So I had some time under my belt on the planet to understand, to have a little bit more compassion for my parents than when I did when I was 18 and 19. I was such a jerk to them. But I have compassion for, I think that my mom has only ever said those things because she was afraid that someone was going to hurt me. So she would maybe try to deter me by saying something that she thought might deter me, and it's that. I mean, none of the things she ever said would have deterred me. I knew who I was, but I realized today anything that she would have ever said was because she loved me and she was afraid someone would hurt me, and that she thought maybe by saying those things that, she could, either stop me or make me think twice about doing what I wanted to do. But I'm stubborn, so.
I think we all are a little bit in our own ways.
Yeah.
Give us a bit more detail on how you identify, and why is the F on your identification not really an issue for you?
It's interesting because, I think that for a lot, every trans person is really different about the things that are important to them in their transition. And for me, my birth certificate and my license and passport and all that kind of stuff, you know what? I just really like to mess with TSA ultimately, but it's not it's one of those things that I don't really. That's not what makes me who I am, and I also kind of deem words like female and male as science words, and I just don't for me, sex and gender are different, and my biological sex and is something that is it's sort of like a biological fact for me, and I don't claim this for anybody else but myself. But it feels like a science word that's a biological fact. I came out, I was born female, I have these parts that say in the science books that I'm female. But later, in my heart, in my head, I really have I felt like a boy. I feel like a man. How do I justify that with these science words? I'm not going to argue with science words, but I feel like gender is something that I get to create and make up every day. Some days I'm like real butch, and some days I'm kind of femme, you know, and it kind of ebbs and flows on a daily basis. With my Woody background today and my flannel shirt, you might think it's really butch today. But so the stuff on I understand that for a lot of people that's important psychologically to have that paperwork and for them to feel that they have this sort of this proof, but and I respect that 100%. I just don't have that need inside me. For some reason, it's like not one of the things that was important to me. One of the things that was important to me was chest surgery, changing my name, and I like male masculine pronouns like he, and so those were the things that were important. So every trans person is a little bit different about the list of their list of things that they want done, and some it's just the identification, and some it's like, you know, and forgive me for referring to it this way, but like the full Monty, like the whole head to toe paperwork, surgery, and I, you know, we're all just a little bit different in where we land with those things, you know, and my idea is not like, it's one of those things. And I'm serious. If I do ever have to go to jail, I want to go to jail.
That's been a thought.
Let's hope not.
Yeah, daddy's home. Daddy's home.
Yeah, I know. We'd be like, okay, bitches of the house, here you go. Who's turning it today? You know, we'd be in trouble if we ever. But yeah, no, I agree with you completely on. It's only a letter MF. It's words that we put. It's all about how you feel inside and how you express yourself. And I'm very in tune with both my side, my female side and my masculine side. And it's like, you know, it is what it is. And I know not everybody identifies like that, but that's. You know.
Well, and a lot of people are still very struggling and very hurt inside by their male or female history. Having been born female and, you know, and feeling male, or feeling masculine or a man, and vice versa. And I actually there was times when I was worried or sad that I was afraid that I wasn't going to have what I wanted to in my life. I wanted to have testosterone. I wanted to have chest surgery. And I was afraid that I would never be able to save money to do the chest surgery, which I actually finally did. But those are the things that worry me. And I actually have no shame or pain around my female history. In fact, I'm really glad that I was born female. It's one of those things that having been socialized a girl taught me a lot about how to interact in the world in a way that isn't offensive all the time.
Right. Well, it's a balance. You know, like, you don't walk around with all this hyper masculinity and.
I think I'm much more aware of my tone when I'm being a dick than I would have been had I been socialized a dick. You know what I mean? Like if you were socialized a boy and you have a certain tone, you never were to know another tone. And I know the difference in my tones. Like I talk about this with my girlfriend a lot. Like when we're out to dinner, and you know, I order a salad, and you know, before if I would order a salad and they brought me the wrong salad dressing or something like that, I'd be like, hey, listen, I'm sorry, it's probably me. I probably said it wrong, and it's probably not you. I hate to bother you, but if you get a second and no rush, could I get, you know, blue cheese dressing? And today, that was before, and now today, like, that's a different tone. It's a very apologetic tone. It's like, it's me, it's not you. It's like taking ownership of anything that could have ever been, you know, gone wrong in the world. And then today I'm like, hey, where's my friggin' salad dressing? You know, like, it's really different.
I want
Hurry
it
up,
now.
damn it. I said blue cheese.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
interesting
yeah,
on
it's a
your bio, you had talk about having an eccentric view on love. Can you elaborate on that? What's your...
Well, I mean, you know, I think that through a couple things, I'll tell you, like with my parents and parental love and that sort of thing, you know, a lot of people think my parents are amazing, but they're not amazing because they accept me as trans. They're amazing because they're amazing, loving individuals. And I think that a lot of people think that either they should deserve an award, or other people think that other people should deserve an award for just simply loving people. And I don't think that's true. You should just love people. That's it. Like, you don't get an award for that. Like, you know, it's like that's how you're supposed to be. And my parents are already like that, and I love my parents, and they are really amazing examples of love. But they, and I think that they taught me that. I think that that's one of the things as a kid. My parents taught me, informed me so much about love as a kid, and our whole family. My parents they were older than hippies, but they were kind of hippie-ish in that they used to have like a family meeting once a week and have us all sit down and write letters to each other about if we had any grievances and how to resolve those grievances. And at the end, we talk about feelings, and there was like this really loving culture that they fostered among us all, no matter how hard we all fought as kids. And as kids, we do that. And then that, I think, has informed the rest of the way I see love throughout my life. And I've always been this person who, I guess, you know, if you think about it, like, we've been taught so many things about how we're supposed to be. And as trans people, you have to kind of tear everything down and rebuild it the way that you see it. Like, you've been told that if you're female, you have to do this, this, and this. And so as a trans person, you have to go, okay, that's not true, and I'm going to rebuild it how I see it. And so I've had to do that around myself, but I'm also doing that about love and about, you know, I feel like I've come to this place in my life, and this is something that I feel like I'm in a monogamous relationship with my girlfriend, who I adore, and who's fantastic, and she deserves a medal, not for loving me, but she deserves a medal for a whole bunch of other reasons. But she's really awesome, and she and I, when she and I met, I had just come out of an open relationship, and it was something where I was in a relationship with someone who was also in another relationship, and I just think that life and love is supposed to be more than just like this one person kind of thing, and that we're all supposed that no one person can meet everybody's needs, and that I'm a very social, polyamorous kind of person, and I get love from so many different sources, and that so I wouldn't say it says eccentric, but I actually think that it's probably how a lot of people feel. They just don't know how to navigate it, and that I think we're supposed to have more than one love and more than one person, and what each of those people provide for us is different. And so I don't know. I don't know if my views, I know it says that in my bio. My friend Pleasant wrote that bio, so she says eccentric, but I think it's actually kind of normal. But anyway, I don't know
in the old days, that's what they had 5, 6, 7 wives. It wasn't. Wife number 1 couldn't cut it, so you needed to go. You know, what if wife number 2 wasn't horny at the time, or wife number 3? Well, you know.
I have, you know what? I have a girlfriend, but we have a slew of friends that we all sort of joke around. My friend Selene Luna, who's also a comic, she talks about herself as my girlfriend's sister wife. So. And then like we have like a group of friends that we all sort of talk about it like that and joke about it. But I mean, Selene and I don't sleep together, but or fuck, but we definitely all have like this family and all sort of feed each other in ways that maybe Sarah can't feed me, or I can't feed Sarah, my partner. And that I don't know. I just think that that's really beautiful. I'm actually, you know what? I love that show, Sister Wives. I'm totally down with polygamy. I just think that it should be the other way around too. That it's not just one dude and all these wives. It should be a lady or and all her partners. So they should have that choice as well.
Yeah, exactly. If my man's gonna go out and get another woman, I'm gonna go get me another man.
And there you go.
We'll have one big happy family.
I'll have to get a bigger bed then.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think a twin's gonna cut it. No. Tell us about what you wrote on your bio regarding your views on adolescence, substance abuse, and gender identification.
Well, I'm glad you asked, because this week I just turned 20 years sober, and it's something that when I was a kid and I was, struggling with how I felt about my body, I very, very early on started drinking with the guys in the neighborhood, the older boys in the neighborhood. And at first it was sort of for fun, but then it turned into this thing that would help quiet the voices for me that were telling me that I was different, and eventually what it did, it was that and I have, a history of alcoholism in my family, and my grandparents on my father's side were alcoholics, and I think my grandfather on my mom's side was, but he had to quit cold turkey, he says, because the doctor told him he needed to quit. So, but he still snuck booze every now and then kind of thing. So he wasn't sober, but I think that there's a history of it in my family that that genetically I was predisposed to. So I was drinking at an early age to try to fit in, to try to quiet these voices that I had going on inside, that I was different and that I really felt like a boy. And then I became an alcoholic. And so by the time I was 21, I was definitely a daily active drinker and user. And it wasn't working for me anymore. And it worked for a little while, probably through my adolescence. And I say worked, I don't think it's a solution necessarily. I mean, it is. It's not necessarily a good solution. But at the time, it felt like a solution for me. And I think a lot of people drink over things. And for me, one of the things that I drank over was my body and my gender and how I felt. So I quit drinking, and while I was drinking, there was no way for me to figure out why I was drinking like that until I stopped. And then when I stopped, I got a little bit clearer, and it took me a while to figure it out. And I thought that it went with my queerness, and it did go with my queerness, and that those two, my drinking and my queerness, were related. We're told in so many places in our lives that being queer is wrong and bad and gross, and all of these things that we were sort of bombarded with in these messages that it's not okay. And it's gotten better today, but that's in part why I drank. And then I had been sober for a long time, and it wasn't until, I would say 10 years into my recovery that I start to piece it together that it wasn't just about my queerness, that it was about my gender and my body, and that I remembered all of these things about why I was drinking. So it took me a long time in recovery to figure out that it was related to my drinking. And I think so many people around, gender or their sexuality, if they're feeling awkward, that's like a go-to thing for them, is that they go to these substances to try to feel better. And I think, and I think everybody has something, some people, go to like eating disorders, or some people go to whatever it is that you're struggling with. At some point, if you splinter and you reach for something, it might be food, it might be sex, it might be drugs and alcohol, it might be you might be hoarding, it might be a bunch of different things. But for me, it was primarily booze was my jam. And I'm happy to say that on the 26th of this month that I celebrated 20 years, which I can't believe. Which in recovery days they call that old. Someone said that that's an old timer. So I guess maybe I'm an old timer. Sober person.
Well, I know what you're talking about with alcohol, because I did the same thing. Like, I would go to parties in high school and I would drink like a fish, but I would grab, all the guys would be drinking beer and everything like that. I'd grab a wine cooler and the guys were like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I'm like, "Getting a drink. You're supposed to drink beer, dude." I'm like, "No."
Yeah, you're like, no, ladies drink wine coolers.
Yes.
Exactly. I couldn't say that, because then I probably would have gotten beat up. So I had to stick with, I think I like the taste.
But yeah, beer gives me gas.
When I was in high school, I think I drank like 8 Bartles and James wine coolers. You guys remember those?
I remember those.
So I drank like 8 of those, and then I decided to mow my parents' lawn. And so I was driving my dad's riding lawnmower around, and I ran into so many trees, and I bent the front axle of his lawnmower, which he still has, by the way. He had the axle straightened, and he still rides it around. But for the longest time, he blamed, and I've never corrected him, so if he ever watches this, I'm totally in trouble. But he knew that we had parties at the house in high school, and he blamed it on maybe party goers that came to the house and messed up his lawnmower. But really, it was from drunk driving. It was my drunk driving accident on the lawn after many, many wine coolers that I bent his front axle. So
I guess that would be considered an MWI, mowing while intoxicated.
I just want to say, Dad, I'm really sorry that I never made an amends to you about this, but I'm really sorry that I bent your front axle, and if there was some expense to that repair, please let me know, and I would be happy to reimburse you.
There you go. Now you feel all better because you got that out of your chest. You've been holding on to that for years. We got this really cool clip that I liked anyway on the Comic Unleashed that you did, so we're going to have Joe put that on the queue so we can share it with the viewers.
All right. Now, Ian, tell us about yourself.
Oh, where to start? Let's start with that I'm queer. You guys are like, no kidding, right, look at you. Yeah. I'm not the kind of queer that you might think, though. I'm transgendered. I was born a girl. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for reals. Yeah, I was born a girl. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You were born a woman?
I was born a girl, and, you know,
Whoa, I'm sorry, 1 second. Whoa. Wow. Okay, I gotta get my... No, you're not the only woman. My head has got to get around this right now.
No,
you were actually born a woman?
I was.
You're not kidding us.
No, this is for real. Actually, it's funny because people think that I pass kind of well, so they think that I'm kidding or I'm joking. It's like some joke. It's not. It's for real. I actually had the great pleasure of coming out twice to my parents. The first time I came out to my parents, I was a girl, and I said, "Mom, Dad, I like girls." And the second time I came out to them, I said, "Mom, Dad, I still like girls, and I want to be a dude." They have so many questions, like you were saying earlier, and they're like, "So, well, do you have a, do you have a, And I'm like, "Not on me right now." Yeah, but and then I'm like, they're like, "Well, you're gonna get one, huh? Come on, you're gonna get one. You're gonna get one, aren't you? Come on, you're gonna get one." That's what it's all about for the guys. That's what they want to know. You're gonna get one, And I'm like, you know what? It's not like I can walk into the plastic surgeon's office and flip through the pages of the portfolio and say, "I'll take the Tommy Lee, please." No, it's exactly like that.
What's the procedure called?
Phalloplasty is what it's called. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Not addictomy?
No, that's. You're an expert.
I'm an expert. I wanted my degree.
That's it.
Oh, I tell you, man, I'm proud of you. That's great.
Thanks. Thank you. I'm so happy. I'm so
Yeah,
glad
that's
about
great.
it. I'm going to my class reunion because I'm really psyched to go, actually, because that guy who thought he was getting voted most changed, he's so screwed. That's mine. That title is mine.
You're just hilarious.
That's great.
They cut so much of that out that it's funny because there was like longer edits, and it was all clean humor, but they chopped a lot of it out. It's one of those things that, like, it's ABC, so they had to, like, I'm sure they had to keep it super vanilla. But I didn't use any language on there. I didn't use any foul language. I just think that the subject matter. But it's funny. Neither Dean and the guy sitting next to me, Dean sitting across from me, those guys backstage didn't know that I was trans at all. And they came by my dressing room. They're like, "Dude, what's up?" And they gave me like the bro handshake, and the pat on the back, the guy hug thing. And they're like, "What's up? See you out there, man. All right. So, and then we go on stage, and I come out, and I was the first person that he went to talk to in that episode. And so I came out immediately, and the guy sitting next to me, he leaned back. He shifted in his seat like this way over, and he just was like, holy, he just couldn't almost get far enough away from me. Couldn't believe it. And just his body language alone was, and he said to me, and I don't think they put it in the show, he said, you know what, I'm pissed off. And we all kind of looked at him, he goes, the chick next to me can grow sideburns, but I can't. And it was like, dude, first of all, did you really say that? But yes, I mean, anyway, but mostly because he said it, cause he didn't know how to talk about it. So as soon as he, it was implanted in his head that I was born female, he couldn't get that out of his head. So I get why he said what he said. I do think he was a little phobic, but it was funny because like what he got out of that as that I was more manly than him because I could grow sideburns. Like that's what you boiled that down to anyway. But it was funny. Those guys, they had no idea. Byron knew my stories. I mean, the producers asked me, and that's in part probably why they had me on the show. But it was a fun show. It was a fun show to do.
Who's your favorite comedian? I mean, who has been your inspiration?
Well, it's funny. I listen on my iPhone. I have a bunch of comics on my iPhone, but the ones that I tend to listen to the most, of course, I adore Margaret. She's a living legend, and she's not only helps me in my career beyond words that I could even describe and express, and taking me with her and letting me tour with her and those kinds of things. But aside from that, her example of her comedy and being like an out comic representing much of the time disenfranchised people in the community, I think that she's spoken up for so many people that that either couldn't speak for themselves on the level that she was doing for them. And that to me is really inspirational. She's so hilarious. I love her so much. And so she's probably at the top of my list, of course. But the comics that I listen to on my iPhone, I love Bill Hicks. He passed away from cancer quite a while ago now. And he was so friggin' smart and so what's the word? I guess just so concise and specific, and I think he probably had some of the biggest balls in comedy that I've ever seen or heard. And you know what's weird is that I didn't know that he had died when I first started listening to him. And then it was like have you ever like heard a song and you're like, oh my God, who is this? And you realize that they're dead. You're like, shit, like I'll never get any more from them.
No,
as an artist.
Him and
like,
George Carlin.
Yeah, like, well, George Carlin had a nice long run, though. I mean, I'm not saying I wish that he were here longer, period, the end.
Yeah,
I totally wish it. But Bill Hicks was really young, and like, I felt that way about Jeff Buckley, who's a musician. When he died, I cried because I was like, oh, I'll never hear another new song from him. And I just thought he was brilliant. And I also am obsessed with, I'm obsessed with real comics, ones that are insanely honest on stage and leave a huge raw chunk of themselves on stage. Richard Pryor was like that for me. I don't know if you remember when Whoopi Goldberg did her one-woman show on HBO, where she did her like long, luxurious blonde hair, and she talked about race, and she touched on addiction, and her characters were they had to be some, and I don't know if I've never read anywhere, but I'm guessing that they had to be some extension of herself. I mean, you can't be that kind of character without it maybe being some extension of yourself, I don't think. But so I like that kind of comedy. But the brilliance, there's other comics that I love too, like their brilliance. Like Paula Poundstone is incredible. She is probably one of the most incredible crowd workers that I've ever seen. And I don't know. So there's a lot out there and a lot of inspiration to draw from. But I would probably, those would probably be at the top of my list. And there's always new ones too, because I've seen people and I'm like, who is that? What are they doing? Like, I have a friend one of my friends out here is like that. she's an incredible comic. Her name's Sarah Hyland, and she does these characters, and she's so brilliant. And to know people, that's the cool thing too. It's like living out here in LA, when you admire someone and then you get to meet them, and you're just like, that's so awesome that I know you. I love you. Sarah Hyland like that for me. Fortune Feimster is like for me. Are you familiar with Fortune? She's on the Chelsea Handler, the Chelsea Lately show. There's a lot of, and that's probably the best part about living in LA is if you're an artist and you meet other artists like you, and that most of them are here or in New York. So I love that I get to meet some of these people and sometimes work alongside them. And, and Selene is another person, actually. If you haven't seen her comedy, she's incredible. She's somebody to watch for too, because she's just so, brilliant and honest. She's again one of those really honest comics, and it's funny is when I've met other comics who are like just starting out and they're like, do you have any advice? I'm like, just be honest, be brutally honest. I said my favorite thing when a comic leaves stage is that I feel like I got to know them a little bit, and they're not just talking about nothing, they're talking about themselves and revealing something very personal about themselves. I think that's what I love about comedy. So
definitely. Well, where did the inspiration come from for the title superhero on your comedy show?
Well, one is that I have a joke about being a trans superhero. And you can watch the special when it comes out. I'll be posting it on my website. It's going to be out right after the new year. It's going to be at a bunch of film festivals. And I'll tell you that it's basically originally was just a joke. And then I was trying to think of a title for the special, and I thought, well, maybe it should be after one of the jokes in my set, in my show. And so I picked superhero because I also thought that it was kind of bold in a way that you'll just have to wait to hear the joke about being a trans superhero and what some of my superhero powers would be, or my kryptonite and whatever. But I picked it from the joke, but the other I thought it was bold to be able to say, Ian Harvie superhero as the title. People are going to be like, who's this guy think he is, kind of thing. Like, I would like a reaction, a little bit. Like, who do you think you are? And then maybe I might get some nerd people involved, like people who are like Comic-Con people, maybe, involved or interested in watching the special. But ultimately, I think that it's in the end, after all of those sort of reasons, like artistically, it's just, how cool is it to be able to call myself a superhero? Like, I can call myself whatever I want, So, I don't know. I like the boldness in the title.
With a big T in front and your cape. Da, 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 da.
Actually, my fan t-shirts, that's what it is. It's an image. It's a graphic image of me pulling open my shirt, and it has a big T on it. That's my it's actually on my website. You can see it's for sale on my website. So it looks like hands parting a shirt, and the T is underneath. And that is where that's from.
What is your philosophy in life and your beliefs? What drives you?
I would say my philosophy in life is I have probably a few different ones. Like in regards to I generally say yes to everything because you just you get more life experiences that way. And in my life, I just want to be more and more expansive. In love, in friendships, in family, in my career, in every possible way. I just want to be more and more expansive. So it's one of those things that when I moved from Maine, like over 6 years ago, to Los Angeles, people were like, what are you going to do out there? My God, can't believe that you're going to do this. What are you going to do? Like, it's Los Angeles. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I didn't really think Los Angeles was that big of a deal. I just thought, I'm going to go there and I'm going to say yes to everything. and pretty much I feel like I have. And so my philosophy is to be constantly expanding, and how I do that is I try to say yes to everything. So.
Well, being transgender, you know, one of the biggest phobias I think we have is about the bathrooms. Do you still have that phobia? And if so, please explain.
I totally do. I mean, do you? I mean, do you have? It's one of those things that, like, I think it's like the one place that I probably still feel vulnerable. I mean, outside of, like, you know, there's places in my sort of sexual relationship with my partner, of course I still feel vulnerable, but in public, one of the places that I catch myself every time before I step foot into a public restroom, I think this could be the time that I'm figured out, I'm found out, I'm discovered, you know, and all the things that, you know, go through my head of what someone might do to me if I'm found out, like what's going to happen to me. And, you know, part of that is very serious, you know, a very serious safety issue that we all, as trans people, and some people more than others, and I understand that my M to F sisters experience a lot more violence and stress and, you know, depression and anxiety and things related to that than, say, us guys do. But it's a place where I take a breath every time before I go in, and because I'm afraid like that my pee somehow is going to sound different than his pee, you know, like, am I going to be found out, you know, like, just because of my pee sound, like, really, is that, you know, what's going to go down here? And then at the end, I always I go directly to the stall, you know, to do my business. I'll be honest, like, I don't use any additional assistance to stand at a urinal and pee. Like, that is a possibility, but I just don't do that. I'm a lazy packer, and I'm like, I'll just go to the stall and do my business. And but the whole time I'm in there, I'm just like, I've got a secret, you know, like, you know, concerned, worried, or whatever. But you know, but the same thing happened before, even as a butch, you know, I would go into ladies' rooms to use the restroom, and as a visual butch with a big chest, I would still you know, get you know, harassed, whether it be, you know, just people eyeballing me, you know, as a masculine person. Imagine me without a beard, as what you saw in, like, that one of those first videos, but with a chest, going into the ladies' room, and people constantly telling me that I was in the wrong room. And I'm like, I know what the little dress on the door means, you know? I know where I am. And why do you think you have to police the restroom? And you know what? We all use the same restroom, the same bathroom when we're at home. Why all of a sudden does it shift when we're in public? Like, why do you even care? I'm just here to do people think that I'm going to attack them? Like, some people think that it's a safety issue for them that I'm in there. And I'm like, you know what? Like, that's not, if I was going to attack you, like, I wouldn't wait 30 people in line to do it, which is often, you know, I mean, that's one of the things is, like, I'm waiting in line. I'm, like, tapping my foot, waiting in line to go to the bathroom. And someone saying, you know, is having fear that I'm in there. Like, can't tell you how many times, you know, ladies were like, you're in the wrong room. You know, I'm like, God, get over yourself. You know, it's like, well, who cares? Who cares? I'm just here to piss. Shut up.
And nothing more.
Well, maybe more, but it just depends on what you ate that day.
You know,
no, that was one of my biggest fears.
Yeah,
it's something I still have. Sorry.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things that, like, I think I'll probably always take a breath right before I step into a public restroom, unless, of course, it's a you know, there are places that have restrooms that are both people, you know, unisex. Both or all kinds of people, and it doesn't matter. College campuses are getting a lot better about it, and, like, having gender neutral bathrooms or not caring. I think there's a lot of places in Europe that are that way too. So I'm hoping that we evolve eventually and that nobody gives a shit anymore.
Well, it was funny that you said that about the pee sounding different. That was always my biggest fear, was that I was going to be in there, okay, and I sit to pee. I've always sat to pee, but is it going to sound different? And so I sit there and I'm, like, waiting. I'm waiting. You know, I hear some lady come in, and then I hear her start going, And I'm like, okay, so I let it go, and then I'm like, oh, it sounds just the same. Cool.
Male piss sound, female piss sound. I used to worry a lot in the beginning, the first couple of years, and I would hold my urge to go forever until I was starting to get some freaking urinary bladder infection. But now I transitioned back in 2003. Now I just go in there, go in my business in and out. I don't even think about it twice.
That's that.
You know, except for my feet. Sometimes I'm thinking, okay, they're probably thinking, why is his feet facing this way? But I'm like, hey, I could be taking a crap.
Just grunt while you're in there.
Yeah. But
well, I think that it's unfortunate that a lot of people do that they feel that they have to do that. They wait until they get home, you know, until in the beginning of my transition, because my physical transformation just post chest surgery, before I had been on testosterone for that long, I had that real boyish look. So I had a phase of like, okay, I think I'm just going to wait till I get home. Like, I just didn't, there was times where I just think that there was moments where I knew that I didn't really fit in either visually for my own comfort level. And so I would wait. And then as time passed, I was just like, you know what, screw it. I have to go, you know? So it just became more a necessity than of having to go than not. So
yeah, it would get very painful holding and you're like, okay, I can't hold this anymore. I gotta find somewhere to go. But yeah.
Yeah.
So
in what I just was thinking about it, because I was going to use this word and I hate this word, but I used it in old videos. It was actually in one of the videos that you showed that it said something like, I said something like, I pass really well, so blah, 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 or whatever on that show. And I think it was on Comics Unleashed. And it's one of those things that I just use that language because at the time I had learned that language, fairly new at the time. But the truth is, like, I think that passing is overrated. And I think that passing, the only time that, for me, like, I never did this to pass. I did this because I wanted to feel better in my own skin. I didn't care about what the world saw. I cared about what I saw. And I think wherever you're at in your transition, or wherever you feel most comfortable is where you should stay. And no matter what that looks like to the outside world. But unfortunately, there are safety issues for people if you don't, you know, fit what in people's brains is quote unquote normal or where you're supposed to be and that sort of thing. And I just want to say, just for the record, that I hate the word, you know, pass or passing. And I just don't think that it's that important. And that in hindsight, having used language like that, I didn't necessarily mean it in the way that I pass really well. I didn't, you know, like, I didn't mean it like that, but, and really douchey sounding, but I don't know if it came across like that to anybody, but anyway, it's just not that important to me. And I did this to feel better in my own skin. I didn't do it for people out there. And I'm good where I'm at right now. And I don't know I know what it looks like for the most part to the outside world, but I don't really care what it looks like to the outside world. I just want to be able to look in the mirror and go, okay, you know what? That's what I see right now is where I want to be. That's what I want to look like. That's where I've been wanting. That's where I've been wanting to be. And that's finally where I feel good. So it has nothing to do with looking good to the outside world. So
exactly.
So what's next on your agenda? Any new projects? Anything that you'd like to tell the viewers, and where they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, I think early, at the bottom of the screen there, I think there's my website is ianharvie.com, and I have a comedy special coming out. It's coming out at the beginning of the year, and it's going to be touring film festivals. Gay and lesbian ones, gay, lesbian, GLBTQ festivals, but also it's going to be, it's going to be at all other kinds of festivals as well. I'm really proud of it. It's the very first time that a trans guy will have a 1-hour comedy special, which I'm really excited about. I am pitching it to networks, but it's also something that, you know what, that's not my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is to release a 1-hour culmination of like all my jokes that I've been working on up until this point, and to start releasing regularly after that. So that's probably one of the biggest things on my agenda, but I'm also going to be performing on New Year's Eve in Northampton, Massachusetts. I'm going to be performing up in Seattle with Come Out Laughing, which is a comedy group that I perform with. I also perform with a recovery comedy troupe. I have some gigs coming up in Columbus, Ohio in May, doing colleges in New Mexico, doing all kinds of different things. But the best place to find out what's going on with me is to look at my schedule online at theianharvie.com. And you can follow me on Twitter. It's just at Ian Harvie. And you can check out my Facebook fan page, which is facebook.com/comedian Ian Harvie. So there's all kinds of places to reach me and find out what I'm doing.
Excellent. You know, we've enjoyed the interview on you
very much.
That just by watching your stuff, that it was going to be a fun one. We want to thank you for coming on the show, and
yes,
you know, wish you luck in all your endeavors.
I love that you guys are doing this, and thank you for having me on. You guys are wonderful.
Thank you.
Oh, it's our pleasure, and you're phenomenal.
Yes. Very funny, and I'm not much to laugh a lot, but your stuff, and I guess because it hits home. So,
where are you located?
We're in Hollywood, Florida. We're getting ready to move to Wilton Manors, which is a very great LGBT community.
It's kind of like the San Francisco of Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So.
I'll be down Fort Lauderdale way, and when I do, I'll make sure I'll give you a shout out so that maybe we could meet up or something.
Definitely. Take you out to dinner or something. Definitely.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, that was awesome.
That was fantastic.
Ian Harvie. Like I said, I'm not. You're the one that's on to the comedy, because I have a very dry humor, and it's like it's got to be. I like Ellen DeGeneres, I liked Bill Hicks, and I liked George Carlin, and now Ian Harvie is my.
He's fantastic. He's got a lot of funny. It's funny. I saw Ian Harvie back in I think 2010 on a show, and that was just before I started transitioning. I had no idea that he was born a female when I first saw.
I just wanted to see how this would look on me.
You spent how much to get him taken away? Now you want to put him back on? I mean, seriously? Come on.
Anyway, I just wanted to mention our...
Put it on your forehead.
Let's not defame the breast. Those are very important for some people.
They're very realistic.
Not for me, but yes, very realistic. They feel well. Anyway, you guys can get your own pair at the breastformstore.com. And again, we're going to be running contests. Listen to a radio show for the logistics. Just visit them not only for breast forms, also for gowns and panties and makeup and beauty lingeries and bras and beautiful wigs, which I could probably use one. But
you start wearing wigs and makeup. Or
no, male wig, not a female wig. Even though I'm in touch with my female side, I have no problem with that.
So you mean a toupee Donald Trump?
Oh no, that's ugly. I'm sorry, Donald. I don't really want to insult anybody, but that's ugly. That's definitely not for me. But anyway, we've kind of gone over, but it was a great show. I'm going to end.
And I feel very full-chested today.
Yes. Twink, wink. Okay.
Hey,
I didn't touch him.
Keep it PG, okay? Wait, do they feel real?
Yeah,
check them, see, do they feel real?
Yes, they do. Very real. Very.
Kind of turns me on a little bit.
Oh,
sorry.
Anyway. We're going to end the show with one of my live performances. It's a song that I wrote for coming out. A 14-year-old who was coming out, and somebody asked me to write a song. So here it is. And it was actually at the Museum of Art. Just Sees Himself in Love is the name of the song. You guys, we love you, but remember to love yourselves too.
Yes.
Mwah.
Have a great night.
Thank you. It's called Just Sees Himself in Love. Young and restless, sees himself in the door. Does anybody out there know this song? Oh, I know. Oh, I know, no. This world he lives in feels so all alone. Could he tell this? Anyone he knows. They accept him or throw him to the curb. Scared can he be? Will soon be disowned. Mother wants a grandkids, dad sends you and bro. A big football hero, a hand upon his own. Tommy sees himself in love with Joe. Does everybody out there know this song? Does everybody out there know this song? I know. Oh, I know. This world lives He's only 14, has no one to turn to. Stop. Do you believe this? Sean